Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's tech guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, remember, these are all great companies. They're money makers, they're time savers. You should be using them at your school. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest, and then take a listen, and then go visit these sponsors. Boy, somebody's talking in my ear, so I apologize. Let's go ahead and do those sponsor shout outs. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, even your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that connects you with all your stakeholders. The feedback that you get will just amaze you. That's athleticsurveys.com. We also want to thank Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a lot more. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, or even a head coach, Hometown's going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. Go to hometown.com for more information. That's hometown.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were doing it, they also earned 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative for their support. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Beacon is a content creation program, and it's going to take your stories, your student athletes, your history, and turn them into compelling narratives that you can then post on social media, maybe on a Wall of Fame video board. I want you to reach out and email John Townsend, and you can do that at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. That's John at beaconwalloffame.com. Make sure you tell him you heard about it on the podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com, and your coaches, your student athletes, your parents are going to thank you. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software program. Things like volunteer sign up, volunteer changes, you know what's going to happen. Everything goes through their secure system. Sponsorship fees, dues, concession sales, you got to see it to believe it. Go to boosterhub.com. It's the platform your boosters need. It's the platform they deserve. We want to say thank you to Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, communication, facilities. If you do it as an AD, Home Campus is going to help you do it better and do it faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. I want you to go to Home Campus and make sure you tell them about the podcast. And we want to say thank you to Gipper. Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for any athletic department to look their best, look Division I without spending extra time or hiring additional staff. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. How easy? Hey, it's so easy, even I can do it. Create, share, and schedule all social media content in one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com for more information. And like I said, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD podcast. Our guest today is one of our own, Roger Cassem. He's a certified athletic administrator. He's currently retired, like your podcast host, but he's working with a company that I'm sure you have all heard of before, MVP Awards. It's getting to be award season for spring sports, those end of the year awards. So I'm excited to have Roger on. Roger Cassem, welcome to the Educational AD podcast.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be with you. You've had so many distinguished guests. I think it's very cool that I get to be one of them. Although
well,
also
for our listeners, I forgot to mention, Roger also, if he's not busy enough, he's the chairman, board chairman for an organization, a cause, if you will, called Hitting Cancer Below the Belt. And I'm hoping we're going to have a little bit of time to talk about that toward the end. But Roger, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio. As I like to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Who is Roger Cassem?
All right. Well, I was born in Charleston, West Virginia, but shortly after President Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963, my family moved to Richmond, Virginia, and that's where I grew up. Growing up in the 60s, of course, the Green Bay Packers. I've been a devout Packer fan all my life, and my office is actually surrounded with memorabilia. Back in 2018, I was one of the 10 national finalists for the Green Bay Packer Fan Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I came to love football and wanted to play. I did at J.R. Tucker High School, where I attended and graduated in 1976. I played football. I was a quarterback there. Ran track and field, and was the sports editor for the yearbook. Kind of got tricked into that by my French teacher, who was the sponsor. I made fun of a layout in the yearbook one time, and she said, "Can you do any better?" I was like, "Sure, I can." You know how cocky teenagers are. And she said, "Great, you'll be the sports editor." Upon graduation, I thought I was going to go to Virginia Tech because my brother did, and really had no plans. My football career did not look like it was going to advance for a guy who was 5'9", 150 pounds. But one day, Jim Blackburn from Randolph-Macon College, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, in Ashland, Virginia, showed up at the school and met with a couple of us. And he said, "I think you can play." So I ran home and told my parents. And thank God they were amenable to letting me go there. It was a hardship on them. I didn't realize at the time. So I'm very grateful. But I found out I could pay $5,000 a year to play football in college, and that's what I did. I was a 3-year starter at Randolph-Macon. I knew I wanted to coach, so I was trying to pick a major that I thought would help me get a job, and most of my coaches were PE teachers or history teachers, so I chose English. And it did. I had a couple of job offers right out of Randolph-Macon. I went up to Spotsylvania High School, just up 95. You know much about the Civil War. It was the site of the Battle of the Wilderness, and it truly was a wilderness back in 1980. I was the JV football coach, head football coach, and the track coach, because back in those days, the principal said, "I saw you ran track in high school, so we're going to make you the coach." And I was like, "Yes, sir, whatever you say. I'm happy to have the job." I stayed at Spotsylvania for 2 years, and then my alma mater, Randolph-Macon, had a coaching change. Legendary coach Ted Keller retired, and Jim Blackburn, the man that recruited me at Tucker, took over the head job. And I happened to see him at a function. And I mentioned that I was not going to be going back to Spotsylvania and I would be happy to scout for him. He actually offered me a coaching position. So I stayed at Randolph-Macon for 2 years. I had the bug to try to coach in college. So I kept looking to move up. And in 1984, after 2 years at Macon, I was able to get a graduate assistantship at Austin Peay State University out in Tennessee. Spent a year there under Emory Hale. At the time, Emory Hale was the only other high school coach that had been hired right out of college. Dan Devine was the other one at Notre Dame. At the end of 1 year at Austin Peay, there were really no opportunities to further my career in the college level. I had one offer, Colby College in Waterville, Maine. The AFCA coaching conference was in Nashville that year, which was just down the road from Clarksville. And there I ran into a high school coach from Florida at Port Charlotte, and he was looking for an assistant coach. And I thought, Waterville, Maine, Port Charlotte, Florida. It wasn't a hard decision. Plus, I was pretty broke after being a grad assistant. So I went down to Port Charlotte, spent a year coaching there, and it did not turn out to be the best of situations. I remained there as a teacher for the next 5 years, but I drove up the road to Sarasota High School, where Tom Whitehurst was the head football coach at the time. Walked into his office and said, Coach, I'm looking to make a change. Here's my resume. He took one look at it and said, You're too qualified for anything that I have for you. I said, just let me do anything, and maybe something will open up in the future. So I did that for 4 years, all the while trying to get a head coaching job. I made it to the final interview several times, but everybody kept saying the same thing. You look good, but we'd like to have somebody who has experience. And out of frustration in one of my last interviews, I said, well, how does one get experience if they never get hired? But a friend of mine from Virginia called me and told me about Manchester High School. They were looking for a coach. And I applied, and the school flew me up, and I interviewed, and I got that job. And Manchester became my home for the next 28 years. So from 1990 to 1999, I was the head football coach and taught English. I was also the clock operator for basketball. I felt like, if you want people to support your program, you have to support theirs. And I thought that way I can be there and be doing something useful too. And I was the assistant AD under Lloyd Swellness during the spring season. In 1999, Lloyd let it be known that he was going to retire. So I went to our principal and asked him, if I gave up football, could I shadow Lloyd for a year and have a natural transition into the role of AD? And he agreed. So for that 1 year, I went to conferences with Lloyd. I went to all the meetings, scheduling meetings. I got the feel, of the ins and outs of what he did, although I kind of had an idea from being an assistant. In 2000, I took over as what I thought was going to be the athletic director, but it ended up being a new position the county created for all the high schools. I was the director of student activities. And that was quite a different position than what I was expecting. I ended up being in charge not only of athletics, but gosh, facility rentals, all field trips, student handbook, class elections, really anything that had to do with student life. And it was nice though. I liked it because it got me more involved with the entire student body. And the one thing that was really special about it, I even got to go on some of the trips with the show choir, and even played Officer Krupke in one of the school plays as a cameo. So it was a fun thing. I got to know a lot of the different kids besides just the athletes. So in 2000, I became the director of student activities at Manchester High School and held that position for the next 18 years. Um, it was a great opportunity. I had mentors, people like Bruce Bowen and Dick Kemper, who got me involved with the VIAAA right away. I became the publications chair and did the admission for the state of Virginia for a few years. And it just was a great opportunity to be involved in the entire student body, not just the athletics as the activities director.
Boy, I just love to hear the stories, and we're going to have to get you back on the podcast just to have you do a full interview, and I want to hear the rest of your story. I guess one quick question before we talk about MVP. Looking at your journey, the coaching aspects on into AD, we talk about the toolbox on this podcast a lot. What tools did you bring with you from those coaching years to your job as an AD activities director?
The most interesting thing that I saw when I became the AD, when you're a coach, you're very tunnel visioned, looking out for your program, and you're also maybe a little hypersensitive to criticism because you feel like you're putting your heart and soul into it, and people maybe aren't appreciating what you're doing. As the AD, suddenly people weren't criticizing me; they were talking to me about the other programs in the school and the other coaches, and I was more apt to actually take the time to hear what they were saying and consider what they were saying. More often than not, it was just enough to give them an ear, and um, and then file away what they had to say. And if you found it to be a chronic issue, then maybe you looked into it more deeply. But just the ability to listen and to take a closer look at what was going on and not feel like it was criticism of me.
You're so right. Just thinking back to my own time, as a head football coach, and then transitioning to AD, I think that is very perceptive. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone articulate that before, but you're absolutely right. Let's go and jump into MVP. How did you get connected with them, and maybe a little bit of history about the company, since some of our listeners might not be familiar with MVP awards.
Well, interestingly enough, I was not familiar with the company. Um, Most of us, probably you as well, used one company for recognition pins and letters and things like that during our careers. And Bruce Bowen, if you know Coach Bowen, he was one of my mentors. He was the track coach at Hermitage when I was running track at Tucker. He had known me that long. He was our executive director, and he got a new sponsor for the VI AAA. And he called me up and said, Roger, the owner's looking for a sales rep in Virginia. And I told him I knew somebody who was retiring. So I was very hesitant, but I agreed because I had too much respect for Coach Bowen not to do it. And I found out that the owner is Jonathan Blanc. He formed the company back in 1992 out of his dorm room at the University of Pennsylvania, and catered mostly to colleges, doing like the framed jerseys, the award blankets, framed letters, things like that. Um, and it was Varsity Apparel, which not to be confused with the Varsity Spirit Awards. I worked closely with that organization for years because I was the state director for cheerleading for 10 years in Virginia. But I called him, and he said, around 2013, he started getting active with high schools, and Virginia was a new territory. And oh my, I was pretty happy with the company I had, but what did he want me to do? He asked to send him a letter and copy, but the price was several dollars cheaper. Small order just to see what it'd be like. It came in on time, and that the rest is history. For the rest of that year, I used them at my school. And when the time came to retire, I agreed to take on Virginia. And since I had two kids in North Carolina, Greensboro and Charlotte, I agreed to do North Carolina as well. Since then, I've kind of expanded into really the whole mid Atlantic. So in 2018, MVP Awards became a sponsor of the state association, the VI AAA, and Coach Bowen, our executive director, called me because he knew I was retiring and asked if I would call the owner who was looking for a Virginia rep. I really wasn't too keen on the idea, but out of respect for Coach Bowen, I did. And talked to the owner of the company and told him really I'd never heard of them and didn't know much about him. He asked me to send him one of my current letters so he could make a replica and send it back to me and give me his price for it. And he did, and it was several dollars cheaper. Well, with that in mind and knowing how difficult it is to balance an athletic budget, I gave it a shot, made a small order just to check them out. It came on time and everything with it was great. So at the end of that year, when I retired, I decided to be his Virginia rep, and then also agreed to North Carolina because my stepson and stepdaughter live in Greensboro and Charlotte, respectively.
Well, you mentioned a couple of key things, I think, for ADs. You talked about the item first. They have to have the selection. They have to have the product you want. But then price point, certainly that's a factor when athletic directors are making purchases. And then delivery time, the customer service, that they were 3 for 3. I'm always curious as to what other athletic directors do. I'll go ahead and poison the well. At my school, we were a private school, but we had a full athletic program. We did our awards by season for both middle school and also for high school. We had fall awards and an awards program. Same thing for winter sports. And then we did our spring sports and a few end of the year awards at the same thing. How did you do the awards at your school?
Yeah, that's really interesting as I've been this rep and seen what different schools do. Um, a lot of times it's imitation, but There's so many different ways to do it. At Manchester, we had a end of season award per season. And a lot of the teams wanted to do their own thing. And I wasn't totally keen on that. I wanted an opportunity for the kids to acknowledge their achievements in front of their peers, not just in front of their teammates. So we would break off after a general meeting where we did our big awards. The teams were allowed 3 awards. They could call them whatever they want that the athletic department paid for. And any all academic, all district, all region, all state was announced at that time. And then they split off and went into individual classrooms or different parts of the school to talk as long as they wanted to about their athletes. So we did that at the end of each season.
Yeah, very much the same thing. And we still allowed our teams to get together. And I would say you could have a party. You're not going to have a banquet. We actually banned the B word. We had some teams that were, charging parents $25 a plate to come to the, let's say it was football banquet to hear the coaches say nice things about their kid. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, we're going to give out our awards. It's the athletic department, the football team, basketball team. You're part of the athletic department. We're going to give out the awards in a more controlled way. If you want to have a party and get together and give every kid a certificate or something like that, that's fine. But we're doing the athletic awards, under the athletic department umbrella.
That's what many of the teams did. I mean, when I was the football coach, we had a potluck dinner. We just asked everybody to bring a dish of some kind, and it was an opportunity just to socialize and be together for one last time. But I liked that opportunity when I was the activities director to have kids recognized in front of all of the programs because I think they appreciate what the others do too.
No, absolutely. And that's I was going to mention that, but thank you for reminding me. It's the reason that we did it, that we were all, whatever your mascot is, tigers, we're all tigers. Okay. And we want our kids to see and appreciate. And it was good for the parents too. The parents loved it. Let's talk specifics, letters, certificates, pins, ribbons, medals, banners. What are some things that you did, and what are some things that you think MVP does a really good job with?
Well, Jake, I don't know what your experience was, but I was not selling many letter jackets. And as I am out there in the field, not many schools are selling a lot of letter jackets anymore. They kind of go in and out of vogue, and it just depends on the region. So one of the products that we offer, if you're going to award letters, and I did, I was an old timer and I was a traditionalist, and a lot of the coaches today say the kids don't even care about the letters, but I still was going to offer the opportunity. So we have a framed letter award. It's a 16 by 18 framed shadow box with a little hot stamp plate. I showed that to my parents at each of the awards assemblies after each season and said, hey, here's an alternative to a letter jacket. It's just a nice way to display it. Of course, the recognition pins. We have the championship banners that you hang in your gym. We have the mascot mats at the entrances to the door. Some schools use the gym runners to put their sideline chairs on. We have a new product this year that's been very popular is a framed mini jersey where you can get the graphic that you choose to send to us on it. And it's a great award for seniors. And we have a terrific Letterman jacket program that gives the kids a letter jacket that is fully outfitted at a very reasonable price. It's only $199. And I know oftentimes you can pay as much as $350, $400. And then I did something with Manchester's football team. The year after I retired, they won the Class 6A state championship. And I got teased a little bit saying, well, I guess we needed a better activities director. And I said, well, my successor was your defensive coordinator. So maybe we needed a better defensive coordinator. He was a good friend and I hired him. So we laughed that off. But they all want the rings and we don't supply the rings. But I wonder how many of the kids still wear the rings 4 or 5 years later. So I had a nice championship patch made up and put inside that framed award I was just telling you about, and offered it to the parents. And it was a very reasonable price, only $40. And that actually made the athletic department $5 per frame. And that's something they can hang up in their man cave for years to come and talk about. Whereas, the rings probably end up in a drawer a couple years later.
Again, kids see things and adults see things too, and they go, I want that. And, whether it's the Super Bowl ring trickle down or, a championship banner, I think it's our job as ADs to go, hey, we're going to celebrate this event, whatever it is, a state title, a district title, but this is how we're going to do it. And the patch is something that I've also done in the past. We would give out the letters, and we would give out when they won a letter in a second time or second sport, we'd give out the pins. That was part of our budget. What did your school? I'm going to ask you first, and then I'm going to tell you what we did. What did your school do from an athletic department as far as like MVPs and most improved and player of the year? Did you do anything like that?
We did that. Department policy was 3 awards per team that the athletic department would pay for. And at our general meeting, you gave those 3 awards. My football coach was a great guy and a very good coach. He always wanted to do 5 or 6 awards. I said, you can do anything extra when you guys get together on your own. But we gave 3, and they could call it whatever they want. Most valuable player, best offensive player, best defensive player, most spirited. It was a plaque. I have many schools today that use this framed award that I'm talking about as that award rather than a plaque. We, let's see, they didn't do anything beyond that with the general athletic department funds. If they wanted to do something extra, they could. And it's interesting. You got a chenille letter the first time you lettered, and you got a recognition pin for the sport to go into the chenille letter. I've seen other schools use the chevrons, the chenille chevrons, to show a second or third year lettering. It's really neat. There's a lot of different systems out there, and I've learned a lot since I've been traveling and talking to ADs.
Yeah. Again, for our sports, we did very very similar. We said each team, and this was varsity, JV, middle school, and we did the varsity and JV together. We did the middle school separately. You get 4 awards, okay? And the football coach would say, I've got 70 guys. The cross country team only has 12, and we would do the same thing. If you want to give every kid a certificate when you have your party, let me know what you want me to put on it. I'll get you those extra certificates. But you get 4 big awards, and these were nice awards. We had an MVP, and I told the coaches, this is talent, okay? We called it the Coach's Award, and this can go to a talented player, but it's more on leadership. And then whatever our mascot was, I was at 3 different schools here in Florida. Our mascot at my final school was the Marauders. We had the Marauder Award. And again, it could be a talented player, but it had to be character, based on character, a good kid, hardworking kid. And I would add this tagline to the coaches only. Your MVP can be a knucklehead, okay? But if he's talented or she's talented, they can earn the MVP. Your coach's award and your Marauder Award, they can't be knuckleheads. There's got to be some other redeeming qualities there. And then we had a 4th award that I allowed them to call it whatever they want. Most of it did a most improved. They liked that idea of a hardworking kid, maybe a senior that worked hard for 4 years. But everybody got 4 awards. Everybody had pretty much the same script. Give us 60 seconds, 2 minutes on your season, things you're proud of, and then jump right to the awards. You can have your long speeches when you have your party, not at the awards program. And we were in and out, plus doing over 100 Scholar Athlete Awards. We were in and out in usually about 65, 70 minutes. So we were pretty proud of that.
That sounds a lot like what we did. The only difference is we didn't tell them what they had to call the award. I left that up to them. But yeah, quick summary about the season, your big 3 awards, anybody that made anything above and beyond, district, region, or state, we'd announce. So
let's go and talk about MVP some more. In looking at their products, have you come across something as an AD where you've gone, boy, I wish this was available 20 years ago when I had that great team, or I was AD here. Any new developments in the awards line that you think are really cool that you want to share with our listeners?
I really like that frame mini jersey. We have three basic mat designs, uh, like a baseball, volleyball type shirt, a sleeveless shirt that could be wrestling or basketball, and then a jersey type. And a lot of schools are using that as their senior award. And I would have liked to have had a nice senior award to give to the kids. Um, you know, all the different framed awards and things like that. Never really saw those. We just use plaques from our local trophy shop. I'm really impressed with our Letterman jacket program. I just wish more kids would buy them. And I was not the type as an AD that if a senior walked in the fall and said, I want to buy a letter jacket, I often discouraged that. So I was trying to get the monogram club started up again, if you remember those, where the athletic department would award a letter jacket, but it just becomes less than feasible with budget restraints these days. But I tell you, the thing that I would like to point out, when I got into this, I'm not a salesman. I'm an AD, and I'm always looking out for AD's interest, trying to save them money. I can work with the owner and fudge things a little bit here and there to benefit the school more than the company. And the thing that initially got my attention was the price, but the thing that has kept me with the company and really has sold me on it so that I'm there 9 years later and working with over 400 schools is our service department. The ladies in our office, if you ask me for a quote or have a question, I will contact them and you'll get a response usually within 30 minutes. And that's hard to find these days. You mentioned delivery time. It is very rapid. And, you know, you've got a former AD looking out for it. And I know what ADs have on their plate. And I'm not about to let an order get delayed or go wrong because that's just not something you need to worry about. There's too many other things going on daily.
Yeah, and again, sometimes with awards, especially if you're getting plates personalized with the kid's name, although we went away from that just because of the whole challenges with deadlines, having a company that you trust is crucial. And I was very fortunate with companies I worked with. I'd say if you can't deliver, just tell me. I'm not going to go someplace else, but just let me know. I don't want to expect this to be arriving and then you say, "Oh, sorry, Jake, we can't do it."
One thing I told the owner when I agreed to do this was I'm always going to be an AD first and my reputation's on the line. So if we can't deliver, I'm not going to be with you very long. And, occasionally you'll make a mistake, but when we do, I expect us to correct it. And on those few occasions when that happened, we have corrected it quickly. It's just a relational thing. And I really enjoy talking to the ADs about the job first. We probably spend the first 20, 25 minutes just talking AD speak. And then we get around to what they need. And they know that I'm going to follow up immediately. And the great thing is the office will then follow up just as quickly as I will. And I really like that about our folks up there in New Jersey.
Well, let's go and give out that contact information. If one of our listeners wants to find out more about MVP Awards, or if they want to connect with you, what's the best way they can get a hold of Roger Cassem?
My email is very simple. It's just rcassem@gmail.com. It's RCASSEM, as in Mary, at gmail.com. The company is sales@varsityletterawards.com. But the best thing is to reach through me, and then I'll take it from there and make sure the company gets right back to you.
Okay. Well, Roger, appreciate you coming on, sharing a little bit about MVP Awards and a little bit about your own journey with our listeners. I'm serious about that. We got to get you on for a full interview since you're part of the AD Brotherhood. All the best as you move through awards season here in 2026, and hopefully our paths are going to cross at a state conference coming up.
I hope so, Jake. Thank you again for taking the time to let me come on and talk about MVP and just share the journey with you.
Okay, Roger Cassem, MVP Awards. Make sure you look him up. Make sure you check out MVP Awards. Like you said, he didn't even know about the company, and then he found out, hey, these guys are pretty good. So check them out, see what they can do for your school. Just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Tech Tuesday just about every week, and just about every day we try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, of course, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We want to say thanks to Hometown. Go to hometown.com. Fundraising, digital ticketing, and a whole lot more. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Athletic Surveys. If you're not taking a survey, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Booster Hub. It's the platform your boosters need. It's the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com. Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. If you know someone looking for their master's in athletic administration, look no further. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Check them out. Home Campus. It's a platform you're going to use every day. Scheduling, rosters, results. Does all of that and a whole lot more. Did I mention eligibility? Check out homecampus.com. Go to Gipper.com. Really give your social media a boost. Look Division One. Look pro by using Gipper. That's Gipper.com. And finally, Beacon Creative and Wall of Fame. Check out Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame to help bring your school's legacy to life. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.